Now you all know that here on YikesRadio.com, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And so what we do is we develop topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity. And what we hope to do is allow our listeners to think and say in unison, yikes! Yes! Yes! And that is the Mr. Kevin Nash. He is the owner of Accelerated Radio, which is the parent company of YikesRadio.com. So I always like to give homage and respect to Mr. Kevin Nash because it's his platform, you know, that allows us, people like me, to do the stuff I like to do here on the Poetry Justice Show.
Right.
So anyhow, I just always like to give a shout out. And then, wait a minute, I have one of my sponsors in the studio tonight, guys. Yikes Radio. Anyway, I always give love and respect to Gingy Productions and Entertainment Company, i.e. Miss Lori Ray Fisher. I also have another contributor to this amazing show. This is Miss Shelly C in the house, and Shelly C is a sponsorship for our chat program. So we got Shelly C in the house tonight too, everybody. So I just want to give all respect out because we've been doing this for a cool little minute, ladies. Freddie, you with us now? You've been rolling with me low key on the like regular since like October. I looked at the calendar, so
It's all good.
yeah. Yeah, so we've been doing this little get down for a minute. And anyway, this is what we're doing. But what we're going to do tonight, guys, is we're going to speaking on the topic of community.
Yes.
And I did not do a whole lot of advertising for the show or anything because our week just what it was, right? People know what's going on. But I thought of the topic of community. And when Lori and I discussed what we would do today, Lori, you came up with a umbrella, if you will, of different types of community. We mentioned that I would take on the larger community as an umbrella, but then we're gonna take it and we're gonna dice it down and dissect lots of different facets of it. But Lori, when we came up with the idea of community, what sparked you to do so and feel the passion to discuss the subject?
Well, and this will be a part of, I think, where we kind of bleed is that I admit that I was not a big follower of Nipsey Hussle, and I was not quite aware. That could be based on my age or whatever, what I listened to. But I was totally moved in terms of the number of people that showed up and came out and were completely taken aback by the events that had happened. And so then I began to think about over neighborhoods and inner cities and the types of community that needs to come together to stop whether it's gang violence or to create a food bank or whatever those are. Then I thought, well, is that important in a society? How does that come about? I think there's also been this feeling that there's no leadership necessarily within the Black community that has really surfaced in order to take us the way Malcolm X did or Dr. Martin Luther King did. So just beginning to lend my thoughts to those ideas. And then I began to think, but there's lots of different types of community, right? There's not just neighborhood community.
Sure.
There are work communities, right? Working with my oldest daughter, she's here today with my little grandson. And her journey, looking for a job, after finishing law school, becoming a lawyer. How do you break into that community? A whole new community of her being a new mom and me being a new grandma. And what do we do in terms of our grandson and getting him oriented? So there's lots of different types of community. And I'm just interested in the topic of, A, are they important? B, how are they created? Is there a correlation to leadership and community?
Well, we have community as being a unified body of individuals, such as people with common interests living in a particular area is a form of a community, i.e. in wake of the slain murder of Ms. Gentleman. Then we also have a definition of a group of people with a common characteristic. So not just the neighborhood or interests living together within a larger society. Also, a body of persons or a nation, if you will, having a common history or a common social, economic, and political interest, which is what made me think about a social consciousness. do we have a social consciousness as human beings to be more community active? That's what sparked it for me. And then we can say a group linked by a common policy or a common idea could also create a sense of community, i.e. a joint ownership or a partnership, just kind of joining things together. But then I went on ahead to take that to a deeper level of social society. Like, what are we as a society of people? What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to have an outcry? Are we supposed to help within our communities, Frida? I know the type of work that you do. What do you think about that?
I think we should. We definitely should. It's definitely a need for it. We've gotten so far removed from that, though, you know, because I know growing up, we had a community, right? You know, the elders in the community, you know what I'm saying? They,
Yeah, I think it was kind of organic,
yeah,
that,
absolutely.
there was no question. The question that comes to mind while you're speaking, Frida, is what has social media and the advancement in technology done to communities?
Totally.
The whole concept of community.
I mean, there is no community, and I think that plays a huge role into the reasons, you know, a reason why also, you know, nobody has to be outside to communicate, nobody has to go to their neighbor's house, nobody has to go to church. I mean, you can worship God and go to church online, you know what I mean?
No one
We're
knows
not-
that they need to go shopping, I mean.
Yeah,
You're right.
there's no need anymore for that human connection, that you know, that
Sense of community.
right.
Mhm.
And
Or
it's,
there's an online community too.
Well, absolutely. So it's a
Sure.
society, right? People of like, they say, same common interests, living in a particular way, fashion, not just area. We also got that common, you know, characteristics. So online communities, obviously, yeah, that's a big one, but
I think that there's a good chance for something more to become of that, you know what I'm saying, with the murder of this young man, you know what I mean, how these people, how you're saying that's my sister's neighborhood over there, that Crenshaw, Slauson area, you know what I mean, and how people just came out and how they just supported, and then even the Nation of Islam, there's a community, right?
Within the community.
yeah.
Yeah, right, so, and I thought that was a beautiful thing, but it takes something devastating like that in order to bring us out for a little while,
Well,
and,
there you go.
yeah, and then we crawl back into our own lives, if you will. It's not something that's just ongoing, like when Martin Luther King was around, or, you know what I'm saying?
But what are your thoughts about, where did that change? I mean, I reflect, you know, very rapidly when you said growing up. I mean, we had a community of parents, we had a community of just, you know, children that were playing outside, and there were norms and, implicit and explicit things that you knew you could and could not do, and everyone shared that same
The same.
value, right? And I think that contributed to our sense of community, right? But now I don't necessarily see that.
You don't, like I said, we don't have to go outside for anything. And then I think too, something else that may have played into it is just how the roles have been reversed as it relates to men and women. You know what I mean? Women have to go to work. We've been having to do it for many years now, you know what I'm saying? But I can remember growing up where the fathers were in the home, they were working, and the mothers was at home. You know what I mean? And when they saw you walking up down the street doing something, or if you wasn't in school and it was school time, you know what I'm saying? They like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So I think that plays a part into the demise of that whole community concept as well, because women have had to, the roles have changed, you know?
Yes.
And they're, you know, the mother is just not in the home anymore to kind of
Been working.
do what needs to be done with the children.
So do you think the mother becomes, or is the backbone
Oh,
of community?
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that even is different because back then, in the Martin Luther King era, it was the men, you know? But yeah, I think so.
In terms of taking an active front on the forefront, Frida?
Yes, yeah.
Well, do you think it's for the obvious reasons? Would you try to come out and do something? You're slain, you're murdered, you're assassinated. Could that be part of the reason why people don't want to get involved? You know what I'm saying? The weed tips, the backlash. I know me growing up, I ain't said shit, right? What Easy say? Don't quote me, homeboy, cause I ain't said shit. I ain't no. I don't know nothing. I don't see nothing. And then you go out and you got to worry about being trampled, right?
Right.
One of my little niece, she was trampled, thigh split wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Need 8 stitches because you wanted to go out and support.
Right. Right.
I'm not trying to get beat down and get
No.
blood. Me at my age.
Sure.
I don't know, and that's a problem. Is that a problem? Am I going against my community? Am I failing my social conscious obligation?
Well, do we have an obligation?
Well, that's what I
think
want
we
to talk
do,
about.
but
Bree
like you're
says we do.
saying,
And what is
we're
that
afraid.
obligation?
You know what I'm saying? We're afraid. You're afraid for your life. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be living in a certain community and you see these negative things that's going on and affecting that entire community, and then you're gonna come out, you know, Captain Save-A-Ho and
All right,
and
Free.
everybody, then you putting a bullseye on your back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We're afraid, but I think too that is why is that? You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, the mothers and fathers both came out. They were out there. They were in the community. They was making sure that things were right for the children. But now we can't do it because, like you said, you know, we gonna go there. They're gonna blow our brains out. The kids are so different.
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
The community is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The mind, the thought processes are so different. We used to ride bikes. We used to skate. We used to have pillowcases for Halloween. You don't know nothing about that, baby. Halloween. You know what I'm saying? And it'd be like 50 of us on Halloween night.
yeah.
We'd have our pillowcases and we just running, and the parents is outside standing waiting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I sit outside for an hour on Halloween night now. We don't get one trick or treat.
Right,
To hell
that's
with
true.
it. I ain't even buying no more candy. So the community has been so destroyed.
It's just scarred. It's like a wake
Yeah.
or a aftermath or a backlash. I don't even know.
And how
Ash.
sad is that?
That's
Because
very sad.
they don't get to experience what we did.
Mm-hmm.
But does every generation say that, Frida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they do.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Every generation says that.
But every generation has gotten
This is
worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
Becoming more and more
And
destructive.
worse. So, you know, what do you do? I think that we find little ways, like your production. You know what I'm saying? What is it, Lord? Put it on out there.
Gingy production.
Gingy Productions, you
And
know,
entertainment company.
you guys are doing stuff, putting on shows, you know what I mean? And that's bringing the community, you know what I'm saying? The field that I work in, you know what I mean? It's like the less desired community, but I'm out doing what I need to do to help those people in that particular community, you know?
Okay.
Create a sense of, to try to be a bit restorative.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder, if you look at least for me, I ponder within the African American community, and we look at that generation of Dr. King, people growing up in the 60s, right? Their parents were so close to sharecropping and the Great Migration west, right? And living under the Jim Crow laws, and those things were so prevalent and so open, right? Now, I'm not saying that those things are no longer here,
Sure.
but I think that our generation has gotten further away from the very obvious or things that are put up in your face. I think now, well, it's changing again with 45 in office, right? But before 45 arrived, I think there were people who, yeah, they did the racism thing undercover. You know, it
Yes,
was
they
there.
did.
It wasn't just like a big sign, no colors allowed, right? So I think maybe that generation isn't constantly reminded of the need of that community, right? And so people were able to believe that we had overcome, or believe that we had arrived, right? But now I think we're taking another turn with, maybe we haven't arrived. I think people are becoming more aware
We have.
in the community
Mhm.
that, no, we haven't. We never have.
No, heck,
We
that
never
never
have.
changed. It's just no. no,
have
and no, you agree, ain't nothing changed. Just the costumes, I say.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think the
It's like
costumes
a
have
theater
changed.
production,
It's
right?
it's a three-piece suit instead of a
Mhm.
white coat with a
Mhm.
hood
Mhm.
and eyes burned in it. But
Right.
but the hoods are coming back. So the question is, will community come back?
When you see like what happened with this young man, I'm telling you, and I did not know him. I remember him having something at Crenshaw High School. This has been, she was a little girl, right, and she wanted to go, right, you were, what, 8, 9, 10 years old or something? And, I took her there, that's the most I knew about Nipsey Hussle, and even there, at that thing at Crenshaw High, he gave out tennis shoes, he gave out, he got the little Pop Warner teams, their uniforms for football and basketball and stuff, but I'm saying, the community is able to come out when there's such devastation, right? You got everybody seen it. You seen how everybody just came out. And I remember the first night when they were out and how they tore up that space over there where his business was. You know what I mean? And it was the community that cleaned it up. And when they cleaned it up and set it back up again, it was something beautiful. Me and Whitney walked and went to go see it. So we have we have what it takes to put this community thing back together. You know what I mean? And it be something that's positive. But it seems that we only can do it in the wake of some type of tragedy. But we need to do it before then. And like you said, you know, the white hoods and stuff, they might as well be wearing them because they're doing everything else that they did back then. You know what I'm saying? So there is definitely a need for the community now, like never before, with 45 in office, you know?
I feel like it's like you said, I'm thinking of Malcolm's, one of his works, one of his books, On the Side of My People. Malcolm X, On the Side of My People, a religious part of his religious walk. And so that's when we think about community. I was talking to Lori about it, and she came up with those facets that she has shared so far. But I wanted to know, where does spirituality play in community? Piggybacking on what you're saying, how, in your opinion, does spirituality play into community? What do you think, Shirley?
I think I don't think there's much spirituality as it is religion.
More religion with community? Now how could you
Like
extrapolate?
Methodist,
Okay.
Christian.
And so meaning just the churches kind of come out, or?
To the community?
I mean, when we say that religion is more related to community.
Yeah, I think when they are feeding the community, when they're clothing the community, doing things for the community, that everything is just in the church.
I'm kind of thinking like, you know, I mean, when I think about it's the spiritual perspective of it, and when I'm thinking about community, we're thinking about what happened to this young man, that was something bigger, freedom. You said, okay, the wreckage, right? And from the wreckage, it was cleaned up and the space became something, what you said, beautiful. So I'm taking to the scripture of, you know, you meant it for evil, but God turned it around for my good. For my good. Yeah. Church, spirituality. This young man was doing what he normally would do. Right? Walking his life, living. What happened to him was something supernatural. It was gang violence when we look at it in the secular world, clearly. But what spirit and or entity was on that individual to get that individual
And I think
to make that act? Are you
I
wrong?
got you now.
So flow with me, follow that.
We're
Flow
lacking,
rider.
we're lacking in that area too. You know what I'm saying? I can remember growing up, I was in church all day on Sundays. We ate. We went to Sunday school, we went to church, we ate, and then we went to the afternoon service. Right, you know? And even I'm guilty of it. With my own kids. I was raised in the church, sang all over Los Angeles, California, in churches. I can count the times on my hands and fingers that I've had both of my kids, you know, in church. So and I think that too lies part of the problem. We've gotten so far removed from that worked back then. You know what I'm saying? That spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Not so much religion.
Right. See,
Not
Right,
really.
that's where.
I think you're right. I believe
Mhm.
that the spirituality creates and defines a definition for community,
Yes, it does.
right? Because depending on where you are,
Your walk.
and it doesn't have to be, Methodist, Baptist, it could be a
Right.
head of lettuce. It's something that you believe in that is bigger than yourself, right? And based on that, it defines what you believe is community. It defines your limits. It defines your obligation. It defines, as your definition says, what you become a part of in your society. And I think that has been diminished. I mean, that's a whole nother show, right? About the devil running rampant and recruiting individuals, right? But that's why I think we saw the place where this young man had his business completely destroyed and people getting stampeded and run over, because there were individuals who came not of a community spirit, right?
Absolutely.
But they came for other particular reasons, to be destructive, to wreak havoc, to do whatever that is. And then I think that organic community came back
To
and
clear it
clean
up.
that space up. But I do think that as a society, we're removed from spirituality.
Yeah.
A lot of young people believe there's only them. There's only them.
That
There's
they-
nothing bigger than them. They
they-
don't answer to anyone
They make it.
but themselves.
They make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And how little.
And that's a fearful place, in my opinion, as a mother, as a woman, as a grandmother, as an aunt, as a cousin, as a sister.
Sure.
That's a scary place to be in the world, with individuals that fear nothing. There's nothing bigger than them. That person has no limits.
None.
They have no limits.
Going back to the gentleman, I will go ahead and call him that did this to Nipsey Hussle, you know what I mean? That's the type of individuals that we're fostering, because there is no spirit, no spiritual
Yeah.
thing.
Because we talk about religion, and I'm gonna go to the rapes and the pedophilia and all those things there when you said church, Shelley. So that's why I'm like,
Yeah, no,
that's why a lot of people don't go.
yeah, no,
Right.
no, we're talking about what
To
you,
church.
like you said.
And you gotta make a difference, a distinction between the church, the building.
Yeah, the
And-
physical,
and
the steeple,
spirituality.
the
Right.
architecture.
Because,
Because some
growing
people
up,
feel,
was
oh, I
like
went to
you. I
church.
was in church. Some of
Yeah,
the
but you
biggest
in the
things
church
I
begging
saw
the pastor in the back
happened in
room.
church.
Basically.
Boom!
That
Anywho,
happens.
I'm just saying. So,
And everybody in the church had something to do with your upbringing. Girl, what is you doing? Come here, girl.
In
Come
the
here.
old days, yes.
You know what I mean? Now, you say something to one of these little young
it's
kids,
on.
they,
That's why I be like, I'm cool.
They- you know?
Stay in my
Better
lane.
not say nothing.
yeah.
In my little bizox.
But the guy
I
who
don't know.
did that, can you, how awful was he, right? His thought processes to do what he did. You come, you shoot the man, you leave, and then you come back, you shoot the man again, and then you come back and you kick him in his head. What type of people are we surrounded by in this community? And where does that come from? Stuff bad happened when we were growing up
Oh, yeah.
in the city of Compton, but we didn't see the terror, and you know what I mean. But they was fighting. They was
When we
fighting.
growing up, you mean?
Park Village Crips was fighting Treetop. They was coming from here. You know what I'm saying? They was fighting. Every once in a while we hear about a shooting. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody getting
Right,
shot.
right.
But
But
these
those shootings didn't happen until we were like,
High
I was out of high school.
Yeah, it
Everybody
wasn't
might
crack
have still been
stuff yet,
seniors
you
in
know?
high school.
And then-
It wasn't to the crack revolution.
That's what I'm going to say. Crack cocaine, they thought heroin was a beast.
My God.
Ain't nothing like crack. But
It changed everything.
it's so different, and the community is.
Could that be what destroyed us people?
What,
Crack? Did it do what it was supposed to do?
It
What
did
they
exactly
fabricated
what
it
it
to
was
do
supposed
to us?
and it's still doing it.
You know what? It is
Is
so
it?
interesting.
The same range, Freedom?
It is. It's still there. I was a little girl
Yes, ma'am.
in elementary school. I was in 6th grade. And I don't know if you guys remember Mrs. Brown. She was a teacher there. And she took us to Martin Luther King Hospital on a field trip to hear, like a little symposium thing that they were doing, whatever. And there was a doctor there. I can't remember his name. I think his name might have been Dr. Brown. But But he talked about this upcoming drug called crack, and that there were gonna be crack babies, and that we were going to be in a terrible time if this begins to proliferate. And I was a little bitty kid. And there you go. It all came to
It
pass
did
that
just
he
that.
described. He said, we will enter into a generation of people where children are raising themselves.
Look, we have several generations now of, we have grandparents at 30 years old.
Mhm.
We have great grandparents at 45, 50. When I was a kid, grandmamas and great grandmamas was 100. They was
Hey,
old.
I'm a grandmama, I'm trying to
I
keep
am
it
too.
together.
No, I am too. But we 50 something.
Yeah.
That's normal.
That's normal.
Then you have the mothers partying with the children. You have the children that's selling the drugs to the mother, to the grandmother. Community, it's tore up. It's tore up. And how many more generations do we have to see lost?
But then that takes us back to the question, what obligation do we have? Because, I mean, I'm just being
A
honest.
social
That-
obligations.
Right, but that is overwhelming to me. That is overwhelming as to how can I fit into that? How can I change
And be a
that
conduit
pathway or
to
be a
change.
conduit? That's really scary, I think. And I think what we do is exactly, unfortunately, what I do, is I click my garage opener,
Look.
and I drive my car right
You even
in,
know
and I
it's in
click
your
it. No, I don't know who they are, and no.
Wow.
Right.
Do you know the people in your community, Shelley?
I do not.
Like your neighbor, okay, could you know like your neighbor's name, the neighbor down?
I know
Third.
one, Leo and Marjorie live next door.
Amy, do you know your neighbors?
Do I know my neighbors now? Yeah, I know my neighbors. Yeah, I collect
What are
the
their
rent.
names? There's that Nick the bread, huh?
I know
Yeah.
my neighbors, for sure.
But you're right. You're right. And growing up, Mr. and Miss Wesson, just all of them, Mr. and Miss Smith, the Hayeses, and we knew. They knew us. You better cut that out, girl. What are you doing now? But you're just scared. It's
And that's what I was gonna say,
frightening.
I got
frightening.
a little fear factor.
Yeah, now everybody's just minding their own business.
That's so sad, so that's,
That's so sad.
I know.
But that is not community.
And that is the spirit of community, people.
Mm-mm. But then you think, well, if we're that way, because you gotta know that if we feel that way, then it's hundreds of millions of others that feel the same way too, that, we're not bad people. We're not out there doing the things that a whole lot of these people are doing. So we could go out and we could do a whole lot more, but we're afraid to. But then you think about, what about Martin Luther King?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you
What about-
ignite the people? I have to believe there's more people like us than there are people who are destructive.
I believe there's more good.
So how do I get to a point where I stop just clicking the garage opener and driving my car in and clicking it closed behind me?
Well, you can start on platforms like Poetry Justice Show, Jackie Ray Phillips on Yikes Radio. We
Right?
open up our doors to the community, right? We talk
You do.
about topics that are difficult that some people don't want to talk about.
Mhm.
And we're bringing in people from our neighborhood who have survived the crack era, right?
Mhm.
That's true.
People who
I
have
survived.
survived
I survived.
double-digit decades
Yes.
in the penitentiary
Yes.
and has made it home, safe and sound, making money, doing it.
Yeah.
So, POJ show is one place.
Well, that's very true. It's
It
very
is.
lovely.
It is. It really is. But people, we're scared to death.
Yeah, but even with that, low key, straight real, you'd be like, oh my God, what do I do? I even wanna, do you even wanna do more? And then does that open you up to, what does that open you up to when you do more? Cause then you got more to goo ball.
Does it open up to the
Coming out.
concept that I talked about earlier? How does leadership play into that?
In what way?
In terms of deciding you're not gonna just drive into the garage
Yeah.
and you're going to take that step out
It's like join a
and get
group
to
or
know
something.
your neighbor or start a night watchman's club or whatever neighbors do.
Yeah. It's certainly different. I don't even know where to begin. Usually I have a bright idea, but this is pretty heavy.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's really heavy, and it's unfortunate. You know, it kind of makes me feel bad
Right.
that
I feel
I'm
the
not,
density.
that you don't do more. You know what I'm saying? But hell, like you said, we're dealing with some different kind of cats on these streets now.
Yeah.
You know? I remember
Yeah.
you used to tell kids, watch your mouth.
Right. And it'd be okay.
And they'd be
Yes,
like,
you
oh,
are.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Lots
I'm
of different
sorry, ma'am. Tell one that now. I'm gonna have to shoot. But that's just why I'm
Right.
bothered with them, because I don't wanna do
Catching
something
cats.
that, you know?
Exactly.
Cause they're different from
Very
us.
disrespectful.
They're different. I be telling my sister, don't look, cause she get road rage, and she be trying to catch up to them.
Oh, wow.
I be like, leave these people
Alone.
alone.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
Let 'em
It's
go.
just not. So
Mhm.
just, I don't know, guys, when it comes to this topic, we chose it, but good Lord, I don't know.
Right.
I feel so like, ugh.
Defeated, cause you want, when you wanna bring it to the forefront, but you know, when you got a problem, when you put a problem out there, you wanna put the solution out there as well. But it's
Can't
just
always
so,
do that.
what is the solution, Lori? What do we do?
Yeah.
Don't really know.
Yeah, what you do to like bridge and foster community? I mean, like, do you
How do I
have?
bridge and foster community?
Yes, sir. What? What? Why you laughing at?
I lead by example. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm just a leader of men. You know what I'm saying? So
Not
men
a
pay
leader
attention.
of men.
So I just lead by example. That's it. I get
Just
my instruction
exist.
from God, and men just pay attention.
Right. Just in your existence.
You know, people. The lions don't necessarily talk to the cheetahs, right? But the
Correct.
cheetahs see what's happening, right? So I just gotta do my thing, and then the people just
Yeah.
lead by example, man. I think that's the best way to make change.
And then you might not touch 100 people. You might not get 1,000. But if you get 1 or 2, you've done your job.
But explain to me lead by example as it relates to what?
Just period, just life. Whatever it is, you just have to lead by example. Whatever change you're trying to see,
You have to be that
you
change.
gotta be that change.
Mhm.
You have to. It sounds small, you know. We need so much change in the world, but if we can, just as men, start changing and holding each other accountable, it'll just start to spread. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I can do. I can't change the next man. All I can do is live my life a certain way. And at some point, he'll see, okay, well, maybe I need to do that. That's it.
Like I said, you might not get the masses, but if you can get to 1 or 2, you've done something phenomenal. Yeah, that's a
Wow.
rough one. It's a
Huh.
rough one.
So, like, if there are different type of, I put it this way, like, if you get notification that there's a community event going on, or something that is going on in your immediate community, are you inclined to go out and be able to be seen as a leader of example? You gotta be out there for people to see you lead.
That is very true. And so, I have lived in my community, I'd say 15, 14 years
Okay.
in a new community. And no, for a long time I did not go out to any of the little events that they had. But starting, I guess, 3, 4 years ago maybe, I did start going out to the little, community things that went on. And making yourself known and making a presence. Which was interesting because in my community there was a lot of mutilation. It's like when I showed up to be engaged, it was met with not what met with, like welcoming, like,
Right,
oh, I'm so
right.
glad that you came out, come on out and do this. It was met with, why she got that on, and what street you live on, it was met with that type of,
Right.
reception.
I ain't gonna try not to call no names, but you remember, Lori, when I, about a year and a half ago, that little community, that little church I was going to? The church, see, here we go.
The church.
The building.
I have a church community.
You remember them little ladies? Remember they was the men,
They were
little ladies?
men.
These
Yeah.
little ladies, these little ladies.
Uh-huh.
And I met in my community, and I was started going to their little church program, and they had little arts and crafts and little glue sticks and shit. Lori laughing because I went out. I'm trying to be a part of what?
Her glue stick.
My
Oh,
community.
Lord.
Right? I'm all at
Like,
Michael's
all
and
right,
shit. I'm
here
like,
we
Lori,
go.
I'm getting this. I'm buying
We gotta
this.
string some beads together
Oh,
and
wow.
sing Kumbaya. Like, all right. They were haters.
second night in class, well, I decided to decorate my book with my shit. Ooh, stuff, right? So my poetry, justice show, all of my shit, the poetess reigns. My book is, oh, we got a caller. Hey.
Cool.
What's up? Is this Momo? Who's it? Who is it?
All right.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
What's going on? It's amazing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So yeah?
Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts about community? What are your thoughts about community?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Community.
Yes, yes, as
Or
at
the
large.
lack of, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got viewers, bitch.
Yeah. So, no, I was just saying, we were discussing the lack of community here as it relates to the West Coast. Now, being from Brooklyn and on the East Coast, I'm interested, do you have a strong sense of community on the East Coast?
Where the community is together.
Uh-huh.
You think? Wow, in the suburbs.
So there's more community in the suburbs opposed to the city?
Wow.
Ah.
Some road is full.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Do you partake more in your community, would you say, than your neighbor or counterpart next to you?
So the road is full.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I
Is that-
think that's the key too. I'm gonna speak personally. I like that you said that. He said he believes in his community. I think that I've gotten just numb. You know what I'm saying? My community has turned and changed so much that I just don't have any faith in the people in the community anymore. And you're right, sir. You have to believe in it.
That's true.
That's right.
That is very true. We talked about that earlier.
Spirituality.
Mhm.
Yes, we did, sir.
So you're gonna have to tune in at 6.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, well, we're gonna have those, but overall, I think that the community, I believe, a whole lot of people, powers that be, thought that it was gonna be a whole lot worse than what it was. They thought that our people
There
was
would be
gonna act
retaliations
up,
and all that.
and we did not. I think that they did this young man the justice that he was due, cause he was an awesome cat, and, I'm sorry? No, I was just saying that I think, I'm really proud of the way the community came together and didn't do what was expected of us here in Los Angeles, you know? They showed up and they showed out, and I think that he got what he deserved, because he was a good guy, and he was about his community.
And you know, I just have to say, I do think that Nipsey Hussle was a huge impact in the community. But it's unfortunate, as a society, you have to be killed or murdered, or you have to die before your contributions oftentimes are recognized. You know, I was just taken aback by not knowing all of the input this young man had, you know, in a community that's so very close to where we live every day.
But you know, Lori, I think that was him. He wanted to remain anonymous in a lot of instances.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that, you know, he would just do stuff. And especially for the kids. He was big on the kids. And then sad about them being killed like that, but that community, that individual that did that to him, and it was just, you guys are just talking about hateration, jealousy. That man didn't have that,
Yeah,
That's
and
another
that's
show.
why I was taking it to the spiritual level, because again, supernatural out of this world. And there's evil, it's just good and evil. That was just pure hatred. That was just unadulterated jealousy and hatred.
yes,
To do that to young man, in my opinion. That's just the devil, straight up. Go ahead, Seth.
I might not hear. I'm gonna keep clicking. I need to
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's what I
something?
think about. Without the
Isn't that
father.
something though?
Children's without their fathers.
And he did it in front of them. He did it, the kids were there.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was only one.
Yeah.
But you,
Exactly.
I just believe back to the whole spirituality thing that we were talking about. I just think, I told my sisters, I said, he was just too good for this earth.
Yes,
He
time.
was just too good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
God didn't want
He
that.
had completed his purpose.
Right, I think that is, as his mom said, you know, in her remarks,
Yeah.
that he met his calling, you know.
He did, and he left a legacy. We got some people that's been here 100 years, and you can't say nothing good about them. They have done nothing for their community. And him, that young man, and it's a whole lot that he's done that we still don't even know about. You know what I mean?
And it reminds me a lot of, in terms of bellowing the work of other greats, such as Snoop Dogg. I know a lot of the
Right.
similar, and a lot of these men and women, for that matter, rappers and entertainment, are doing a lot of things that are not always, you know, put on the forefront, because God tells us that you are not to necessarily give and then go preach on the corner in front of
Right.
synagogues and let everyone know what you've done. So what you do, that's your private time with God, and then He knows your calling, and that's why I just keep, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me is spirituality. Because how can you, what else, other than just evil?
What was the gentleman's name that called in?
It's another call.
Hello, Miss Friend, you still with us? Brooklyn, you still in the house with us? Perfect, perfect. I didn't know, we heard it, we wasn't sure if we lost you. We heard oh, great, go ahead, sir.
Yes.
I know.
But you know, how do you think we spark that within individuals? We were having conversation saying that, Emmett said we have to lead by example, right? So each one of us in this room needs to go back to our community and begin to lead through example. But how do we spark that within others? For them to, well, how do we spark it in others to have an interest, as you said when you joined us, that they have to care about their community?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Right, right. This was in the storehouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like with Nipsey Hussle. You, of course, again, I didn't know nothing about him, but after his passing, I'm just devastated by it. And then to learn from them, but you look at his videos. Girl, he right there on 6th Ave, 8th Avenue. He had the 8th Avenue liquor store shooting videos. You know what I'm saying? The community people are in the videos and stuff like that. So you're right, sir. I agree with you 100%. But how do we get past this fear
That's true.
that we have, of the bad things that happen, because we go out there trying to help and pass out donuts and give breakfast burritos to the homeless people and somebody might, you're right. Mhm. You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
You.
And
That's true.
that's why I like this show, the Poetess show, Poetry of Justice, because, and I'm all about that. I say all the time, I just want to be able to inform people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just put it out there. And this is a platform for that, Jackie. So, thank you.
Bless you.
Put it out there.
You speak life. Go
Put
ahead,
it out
brother.
there. Yes. Yeah.
You are the
Right.
third person who's told me that.
You were giving me chills.
awesome.
That is, thank you for
And we
that.
receive that
We do.
communication.
Hallelujah.
We do, thank
Receive
you,
it in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah.
thank you.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, we go to church, yes. Yes, we're
Yes, sir.
Christians.
Yeah.
Really?
And I just said,
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
yeah. All right, praise God. Mhm. Oh, praise God. Yes.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. All right.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. All right. Thank you, Randy. All right.
Wow.
Yes, we
Yep.
do. We do. No, Germany's not on my spirit. No. I said Germany wasn't on my spirit. No. Okay, but you never know. Like you said, we don't know what God has planned. Yes. So we're gonna be faithful and obedient and do as you say. Just keep moving.
Mhm.
Keep moving in the spirit and let Him lead us. Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's me, Shelly.
I did
All right.
a few months ago. Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them right here. Two.
Two.
The grandbaby. The big grandbaby.
I have a grandson. Really? Hmm. All right. All right. Yeah, we have that right now. Right now, Brother Randy, we have a scholarship fund that is commemorating our mother.
Mhm.
We have the Juanita Ray Memorial Scholarship Fund, which will be awarded this year.
Wow.
He said it's gonna grow? Praise God. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Randy, so much. And-
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. No, we don't. Mhm. No. Mhm. Wow. Well, thank you,
Thank you
Randy.
so
We
much.
so
I really
appreciate it.
And
Amen.
Receive it, amen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
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 Well,
Sucks. Yes, sir. Okay.
all right. Well, bless you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love you.
We love you.
All right. We'll look for you, Randy. Hopefully, you'll tune in next week.
Yeah.
Or you can have a Compton, or you can have a round the way Compton girl in one of your Brooklyn films now.
Okay.
CPT.
Awesome. Praise God. Thank you, Randy. Well, I'm on it.
Brick TV.
Brick TV.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
You're awesome.
God bless you too.
That's 9 o'clock your time.
Yeah.
6 here.
Yeah.
Starting May 1, it'll be 9
To 11, yes.
9 to
Started
11.
May 4. Yes, sir. There you go.
All right. Yeah, I come all the time, Randy. I'm gonna look you up next time I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Easy, easy.
I am.
Easy.
I'm a Manhattan girl.
Oh my.
No, I just hang out there. Okay. So be it.
Wonderful.
Well, take care, Randy. See you next week.
God bless you too. Love you too.
Love you too.
God bless. This is,
Praise God.
Wow.
well, that's all I'm gonna say. Yikesradio.com.
Yeah, yikesradio.com.
Now, I'm
Look,
just-
won't he?
yeah,
Won't he
speechless.
do it?
Praise God.
Won't he do
Yeah,
it?
God will talk to you when you think you can't hear him.
Frida said to me, I don't know, I'm looking at Lori Ray saying, who is this? Who is this? Frida looked at me and said, this is God. What's wrong with you? You got a follower, fool. Hallelujah to the King. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us here on the Poetry of Justice show. With Jackie Ray Phillips on Yikes Radio. I'm done. I'm going to just give all praise be due to God.
That's right.
That's just all I'm going to do. I don't even know what time it is, but I give it to the King, right?
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
I don't even know what to say.
That was crazy.
That was phenomenal.
That was crazy.
That was
Sometimes this
phenomenal.
tap